I can talk about what we're going to tell. I've done standing up for people and fighting. I'm going to do that. You know, it's individual health autonomy while they wear 2 masks. Let me tell you what, you will never find anywhere a picture of Joe Blystone with a mask on, ever, ever. Now, I'm not saying the virus isn't real. The virus is real. Absolutely it is. And if you have vulnerable health, maybe you should take a little precaution. But it should be your choice. You do what's best for you. And you do what's best for your children. There should be nobody telling you or abusing your children in the local public school saying your children have to wear a mask for 7 to 8 hours a day. That's abuse at its highest, folks. That mask is worse on your children than the virus itself. The death rate of 0 to 30-year-olds, 0.0003. It's non-existent. So everything that they've done, everything they've pushed, all this rhetoric and this narrative, it was all a big lie. And then DeWine came out and he said, folks, we're shutting down the nursing homes, we're shutting down the assisted livings, we're shutting down the hospitals, no elective surgeries, you couldn't go get mammograms or anything that you should have been doing. You couldn't do that for a long time. A long time. And then folks that went in there and they got, obviously we're just going to say positive COVID test, you know. Again, we're going to use that term very loosely too. But by gosh, positive COVID test, bonus. You're admitted to the hospital, bonus. You are put in ICU, bonus. I mean, you didn't think there was going to be a lot of fraud right there? People are they're giving tens of thousands of dollars if hospitals are going to ride that horse to the end of the day. And we saw it. My gosh, one thing that happened, we cured the flu. There was no more flu. So we were living in it's like living in a twilight zone. Matter of fact, my wife, she wouldn't even go to the local grocery. She said, you know what? I'm not going there. People a job putting family against family, family against community, a community against government. They did a bang-up job. Man, some people would come up to me and talk to me in my store, grandmas and grandpas, and they would say, well, we haven't seen our grandchildren for several months. And I said, why? Because we won't wear a mask and we're not getting the jab, so our kids won't let us see our grandkids. Man, I don't even know what's going on here, and it saddens me. It saddens me that that's where we're at in today's society, that everything's so volatile. We can't even have a respectful conversation anymore. You know, it used to be years ago, you could be a Democrat and I could be a Republican and we could say the most awful things at one another and not agree, but at the end of the day, we could sit down and we could still drink a beer together. Yeah. What happened to those days? Those days are gone. Can we get them back? I don't know. I don't know if we can or not. I try. Yeah. I try to talk to people. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care where you live. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care if you was born in the United States of America or not. I will talk to you. Because that's just the way we should be. As good Christians, we should be able to talk.
Amen. Come on. Amen.
You know, we got a lot going on. Look at our public school system, and they become indoctrination tanks. You know, whether it's a CRT 1619 project, let's draw a line right down the center of our children. Let's tell this little guy that if he falters in life, well, he can blame this little guy because this little guy was privileged. He was born white. I mean, honestly, is this what we're going to teach our children? Racism? Racism is not something you're born with.
Nope, it's not.
Racism is a taught behavior, whether it's your parents are going to teach you this. This has to stop. And then we got this sex ed nonsense, this transgenderism, pornographic curriculum. This has to stop too. You can't choose your gender. Folks, I'm a farmer. Folks, you people out here in the rural area, you know, we got cows and we got bulls. And that's it. That's what we should be teaching our children. You know, we need to make sure that every single... We need vocational training. We need that availability. And we need to mentor these young people. You do not have to go to a 2-year or 4-year college to be successful in life.
Amen.
Go into trades. Become a plumber. Become a welder. An electrician. My gosh, they will train you. They will pay you while they're training you.
That's right.
And you can come out and you can make 6 figures.
That's right.
But we're not telling our young people that. Matter of fact, there's a lot of schools that I know of personally down around Columbus that they will not let trade organizations come into their schools because they do not want them going into those jobs. They want them to go into college. Wow. That's wrong. That's right. The schools, that should not be the job of the local school. That's right. The school, their job is to teach children how to learn, not what to learn. And we need to hold them accountable. There's a bill down in Columbus, it's called the Backpack Bill. What the Backpack Bill is, it sets up a savings account for the child of the public monies wherever the child is educated. If the child is in the public school system, the money's there. If you decide, you know what, the public school is not doing my child any favors, I'm moving them over here to Christian school. Guess what? The money moves with the child. That now makes the public school system a business. Now they have to compete for the children that comes through the front door. And if they keep indoctrinating the children and the parents pull all their kids out, the business will die, as it should. You know, I've had some public school teachers come up to me afterwards and say, Joe, we like everything you say except that. And I always ask them, I say, do you have children? And a lot of them say yes. Some of them, and I say, do they go to the public school? And it's funny because some of them say, no, well, they're in private school. But there are quite a few that say, yeah, they're in the public school. I said, are you willing to sell your child out for indoctrination? Are you willing to sell them out for that almighty dollar going into your pocketbook? And a lot of times they look at me and say, well, no, we're not. I said, well, at some point in time, we have to decide, are we going to do what's right, or are we going to follow the money? Too much of society follows the money. We're always following the money. Let's stop that. That's why we're in this mess, because society is money driven. Let's do what's right. Let's do what's godly. Society will get better, I promise you. And when I talk to those teachers like that, I say, you know what? At the end of the day, you're going to have a job. It might not be in the public system, but by gosh, if it closes, you'll have a job across the street in the private industry. So let's not worry about the job.
Come on.
And you know, you can see I just planted that seed with these teachers. And they're like, you're right, Joe. That's what we need to do. So, you think me driving off my farm last February was good for my business? Heck no, it wasn't. But here's what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to fight for the people. I'm willing to put everything that I worked so hard for right out there. I'm willing to lose it. Because at the end of the day, we have to get this turned around. We have to. Because if we don't, we're not only going to lose this state, we're going to lose this country. We're 1 foot down that communist path. We see that. We are living in communism, folks. Show me your papers or you can't come into my restaurant. Show me your papers or you cannot stay on the donors list at Cleveland Clinic. If that's not scary, I don't know what is. I would hate to be one of those folks that I'm waiting for an organ transplant and they said, well, you didn't get the jab, you're out. And that's what they're doing, folks. That is wrong. That's un-American. It's not godly either.
That's right.
We have to get involved. We have to fight. Because if we don't, man, if you think today is bad, it's just going to get worse. If you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
You know, back in 2020, we also saw this leftist ideology of defunding our police. And we've seen this reality show play out all across this country. And I just want to give a shout out to DeWine. Sir, you did a bang-up job. We had record homicide last year in the state of Ohio. That's what's happening in this state. But yet he says, well, I'm fighting for safe communities. I'm fighting to get behind our first responders. No, he's not. It's a facade. It's smoke and mirrors. He's in campaign mode. Isn't it funny that he signed constitutional carry? He's in campaign mode. It's like, I'm going to give him a little present here. To forget all about what I've done here the last 2.5 years. We're not forgetting.
That's right. No, we're not.
You know, my farm sits 25 minutes outside Columbus, and so I talk to a lot of the CPD, Franklin County sheriffs, state troopers. They all come to my business because, you know, I hold them up. I support them wholeheartedly. I'm very vocal about it. Matter of fact, if you've ever been to my restaurant, one wall in there, we have patches, first responder patches, and we've had patches, probably the furthest, the King County Sheriff's Department back out in, I believe it was Oregon, sent us a patch to put on our wall. Because they know that we're standing up with these people no matter what. No matter what. You know, this nonsense of one officer is bad, they're all bad? No. I'm not going to sit up here and say there's not a bad law enforcement officer, because there sure as heck is. But this narrative is one bad, so they're all bad, and we're gonna degrade them, we're gonna defund them. That can't happen. We pay taxes for safe communities. So let's let them do their job. Let's not tie their hands. Let's give them the up-to-date training. Let's give them the tools to carry out their job efficiently and effectively, keeping them safe so they can go home to their families at night, but also keeping communities safe. And the responsibility, the accountability is on both sides. Everybody should be held accountable, not one side or the other. So, you know, the uprising, you all remember the domestic terrorists, the BLM and the Antifa. They were tearing apart the metropolitan areas. Nobody was holding them accountable. Still to this day, nobody was held accountable. They burned, they looted, they tore up local businesses, they tore up our state house. Mayor Gither down there came out and said, CPD, stand down, do not engage. Our governor told our state troopers, who are supposed to be protecting our house, he said, stand down, do not engage. I mean, it was run amok down there. Let me tell you something, that will never happen under a blystone administration. If there's an uprising in any metro area, any town, anywhere in this state, I'm going to call the mayor. You have a few hours to clean this up. Get your community back to safety. If you do not, I will be sending in the National Guard and we will clean this mess up. Lawlessness can't be a normal thing, and it sure seems like it's a normal thing here in this state. And I know out here in some of these these rural areas, you don't see that. Matter of fact, here a few months ago, about 4 miles from my farm, on Gender Road, which is north of me, in some HUD housing, a drive-by. A young black man was killed. He had his niece and his nephew in the car. They all three were gunned down. And it's in the suburbs. Gunned down. That's what we have going on. My wife and I, we used to go into Columbus to have dinner once in a while. We don't go into Columbus anymore. It's not worth our safety. No way, no how. But we shouldn't have to worry about that. We should be able to go into the metropolitan area. We should be able to go and enjoy, whether it's the coastside, museums, take our kids down there, or go enjoy dinner. We shouldn't have to worry about, are we going to be intimidated? Are we going to be hijacked? Or are we going to have to fight for our safety? We should not have to think about that. No. But this is the society that we live in. This is a society that our current politicians have given us. This isn't just about DeWine. The whole mess of them need fire.
Come on.
We're in this mess because we're quiet. We're positive parts of community. Folks, let me tell you what. That has to end today. You need to be loud. You need to fight. You have to be. Because if you don't, we're lose. We're going to lose here. My daddy always told me the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and who is squeakier right now? The leftist woke people. They're very loud right now. Well, it's time to be louder. It's time to go to the top of the mountain and scream. You know, there was a bill down in Columbus, HB 248. Pretty simple bill. No mandatory vaccines, no mandatory vaccine passports. Should have been a simple bill. If we have true conservatives down there that's going to stand up for your rights, that should have been a bill that should have went through there very easily. They needed 9 votes to get that bill out of Health Committee. You know what? They couldn't even get 9 votes to get it out of Health Committee. So it died in committee. It died. We still do not have a bill standing up for people's health rights. So hence, what are we seeing today? Nurses fired, doctors fired, manufacturing folks fired because they won't get an experimental jab. Now, I'm not here to say, I'm not here as an anti-vaxxer. I had my immunizations when I was a child. And back then, I believe we had, 4 or 5 immunizations. Today, from 0 to 18, there's like 70. Do you honestly think our children need 70 vaccines? Heck no, they don't. We're raising a bunch of sick people. We need to stop it. We're propping up Big Pharma.
Yeah.
We need to stop it. Do your research. Man, and I can't say that I knew a lot about vaccines and whatnot, but I know a lot now. I'm involved with some health freedom groups, and they have opened my eyes. You know what? If you want to get this vaccine, get the vaccine. I don't care. You know what? It's your choice. Matter of fact, you can have mine because I won't be using it. If you want to wear a mask, 2 masks, 3 masks, while you're in your car by yourself, by all means, have at it. I'm just going to tell you, you're going to look kind of stupid. That's okay. It should be your choice. I'm tired of the government saying, you have to do this. Because if you don't do this, you don't care about your neighbor. You don't care about my grandma or grandpa. When did it become normal that, okay, I'm going to get sick unless my neighbor gets his flu shot? Shouldn't the shot protect him? I don't know. I don't know. I just got a little bit of common sense thinking. Our politicians have no common sense thinking anymore.
That's right.
We need common sense thinking in Columbus and in Washington. I always say, I'm a farmer. I got a lot of baling wire and I got a lot of duct tape and I got some hip waders, so we can fix a lot in Columbus. You know, there's a bill over there in Washington. It's called the H.R. 1 bill. The our election system. Folks, those people can't operate a popsicle stand correctly, let alone our election system. Part of that bill is every single illegal walking across the border, they sign up for assistance, and then they're automatically registered to vote. That's that bill.
That's right.
We can't allow that.
No.
Matter of fact, that whole sentence makes no sense to me. One, we're letting them walk across the border, and then we're giving them money, and then we're allowing them to vote. When did that? No other country can you do that. So why are we doing that here? Well, how come it's so bad to say America first? Or Ohio first? Let's take care of the people that were born here. Let's take care of the people that are citizens. Even if they weren't born here, I don't have a problem. If they came into this country legally, they went through the requirements. And it's interesting because I have friends who, matter of fact, a good friend, Alex, he came in, he married a good friend of mine. He just became a citizen a year ago. He's been here, I don't know, 11, 12 years. And the requirements, the tests that they have to take to become a citizen, most Americans couldn't pass that test.
That's right.
And here, a lot of these folks that come in here and they go through the process and they become citizens, man, you can see the pride that they have. They love the fact that they can call themselves an American. But yet we have people that was born in this country and all they're looking for is entitlement. They're looking for somebody to take care of them. It shouldn't be that way. You should have pride. You should have pride in that flag and what it stands for. And we should be teaching our children what that flag stands for. We don't teach them that anymore. So hence, when these uprisings come, they spit on it, they tear it, they burn it, they throw it on the ground. That's because they haven't been taught what that flag represents.
Yeah.
Man, I love being an American.
Come on.
I love living in this country. And we need to teach our children why this country is so special. And if we teach them that when they're young, they will respect it, they'll work harder, they'll be good products of society. But we're losing that. We're dumbing down our children. We want them to be in a fog. Let's legalize drugs. Let's not teach them cursive. We don't want them to read the Constitution and know their rights. And it's going to take a lot of grit. We're going to have to roll up our sleeves and go to work. Because I can't do this alone. I need every single person in this room. We're going into battle. Here the first of the week I talked to General Flynn on the phone. And General Flynn told me, he said, Joe, he said, we don't need conservatives right now. We need warriors.
Come on.
Because if we don't get this turned around, he kind of concreted it in there when he told me that. We're at the cusp. We're at the edge of the cliff. And we have to decide. We have to decide in this primary, do we want more of the same, or are we getting this turned back around and going the other way? Well, I pray we're going the other way. You know, I grew up on the northeastern part of Ohio. I grew up down here in Columbiana County, down around Lisbon. Grew up on a backcountry road. I was a country boy. Grew up fishing, hunting, trapping. Had my first BB gun when I was 5 years old. Had my first single shot 410 shotgun when I was 6 years old. My parents, they taught me how to be responsible and independent. They never worried about me. You know, I was a little kid and I would go back into the woods by myself, and that's how I grew up. And I think that stayed with me my entire life, and that's how I raised my son. You know, growing up, I grew up in a Baptist family. Church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, youth group, church camp in the summertime. And, you know, very strict. Heck, my mom wouldn't even let us play cards when we was young. She said that was a game of the devil. She's kind of softened in her old age, but anyways, the foundation was built when I was growing up. I was saved by the grace of God when I was a youngster. And, you know, when you ask God to come into your heart, He's always there. Yes. He's always right there beside you, even if you go the wrong way. Well, I turned 20. You know how that is. I went the opposite way. When I turned 20, I knew more than my parents, and I knew more than God. My 20s were terrible. I had failed marriage, failed finances. The only thing came good out of my 20, I have a son, he's 28 years old today, and he works for me full time on the farm. That we go through, that we have to deal with, that's what makes us into the people we are today. We know, especially when you're a Christian, you know right from wrong. You might not always go down the right path, but God's always there, and He's always ready to pull you back in. All you have to say is, you know what, God, sorry. I screwed up. Please forgive me. And He's right there. You know, I believe that's why I'm blessed today, because I know it's easier just going down His path. My path is, man, it's a lot of hurdles. So I'm going down His path.
Come on.
And I believe He's pushed me down this path of jumping in this race. Now, I'm just going to tell you, I'm sure there was somebody more qualified than Joe Blystone. I don't know why he pushed me down this path, but I don't know. He saw something in me. Maybe it was because I had a big mouth. Maybe it's because that he knows that I have a lot of pride and I will stand up unequivocally for what's right, even when it's not popular. Yeah. He knows that. Maybe that's why he pushed me down this path. But whatever it is, God saw something that would work. And you know, He picks the most unlikely people to do certain jobs. We've seen that. If you read your Bible, he picked the most unlikely people in certain situations. He picked Moses. So, I'm on this path. Where it ends up, I have no clue, folks. I have no clue. But we know that we're doing something right, because look at this room tonight. Look at all the folks that came out here and is willing to sit down for a few minutes to listen to some dang old farmer from Canal Winchester. So, you know, we're going to get out here, and if nothing else, we're going to spread the word. Yes. Spread the word of His love and Him having that hand out. Because if we can save some people, man, just that in itself is worth the journey. So, I always wondered, I always see on Republican default on their lit cards, they always say, I'm pro-life. So I was kind of wondering what pro-life really means to these Republicans. So, you know, I started researching it. You know, I thought, well, I'm pro-life. I believe we should be standing up for the unborn. And so I started researching what it really meant to some of these Republicans. Well, what it means to these Republicans is 23,000 plus unborn children are being terminated in this state annually. That's what pro-life means to them. These pro-life organizations, do you think that they want to actually abolish abortion? Absolutely not. They're like money-making wheels. They don't want to abolish abortion. Man, right to life. They endorsed DeWine. How could they endorse DeWine? The guy put an abortion activist over our Department of Health. How is that? It makes no sense. We need to abolish abortion 100% in this state. Period. We need to defund abortion and we need to fund adoption. We have a lot of lost children in the system. These children didn't ask to be born into the family that they were born into. They wanted a chance, but they didn't get a chance. They drew the short straw. They were kicked to the curb because they didn't have good parents. Did they deserve that? Absolutely not. They need somebody to go in there and wrap them up in love. They need somebody to build that foundation. And we should be throwing money at that because I'm a farmer. Let's fix things at the root cause. Because if we don't, well, then after we have a problem, then we're throwing money at it. So then we're throwing money at it when they're in their 20s. They're creating havoc. We're spending the money in the judicial system and in the prison system. It can be positive. Unity. Because what doesn't work at all. It's just a little bit of common sense. You know, we have a big problem with spending money in this state. I'm sure every you think you're overtaxed. I bet you every single person in here would say, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have an $80 billion budget. We have about 11.5 million people that live in this state, but of course, there's a lot of people moving out of this state, so I'm not sure what that 11.5 million is what we were a year ago. You know, Florida has twice as many people as we do, and their budget is only $8 billion more than ours. So we got a big problem here. We don't know how to spend money here. Matter of fact, we spend money in Columbus for so many special interest projects. The money's going behind the curtain and it's going into the pockets of politicians. You probably always wonder, how is it that a politician can go into that job as a layman and come out a multimillionaire? Because those jobs don't pay that much. But that's how it works. You know, the off-ramp, the brand new off-ramp over here on the outer belt of Cleveland that should cost $15 million, but we actually pay $30 million. So you don't think 10% of that money that's going into that contractor's coffer is coming right back around into a politician's pocket? Absolutely it is. This is how the system is designed. And it's been like this for decades. And we sit here and we take it. And when they come to us and say, we have to raise your taxes, we have to raise your fuel tax, we have to raise your gas tax, we have to raise your license tax, we have to raise your dog license tax. I mean, at what point are we taxed to death?
Yeah.
It has to be totally reformed. Matter of fact, I can't wait to get in there because the budget we will have to put forth. That will be the first thing on the books that we have to do, the budget. We propose a budget, it goes into legislature. The legislature, it goes through the House, the Senate, they put their stamp of approval on it and twist it and turn it, and it comes back around to the governor. And then the governor has what they call this great thing, it's called line item veto. So we can go through and we can say, nope, nope, nope. We're going to need a couple dozen Sharpies that day, I promise you. You know, I had never looked at the budget up until about a year and a half ago. So I thought, I better get on there and see what I can figure out, because I didn't know anything about the budget. Anybody in here actually look at the budget line by line? You know, I dove into the budget. What I could find, it's very convoluted, it's very bloated. You can't track all the money. And that's by design. They don't want you to track all the money. They got general revenue accounts, non-general revenue accounts. Man, we spend a lot for that funnels into state universities. Why are we taxpayers? Why are we paying for millions and millions of dollars to go into state universities so they can indoctrinate our children? That makes no sense to me. Why do we need all these state universities? How about we just let them stand on their own through tuition? How about we pull all the money, taxpayer money, out of these state universities? Oh, did I just say that? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm going there to work for you. I'm not going there to work for me or any other politician. If you want true representation, if you want somebody to go to Columbus and break the whole system in half and bring the power back to the people where it belongs, you're going to have to hire somebody that has never been a politician.
Yeah,
you're going to have to hire somebody that's not looking for a career in politics. That's why you need to hire a farmer. I believe our whole tax systems need a big total reform. I believe that we need to push it to a flat consumption tax across the board.
Wow, man.
That way everybody's paying taxes. You know, the folks on the bottom, they don't pay no taxes. The people on top, my gosh, they have teams of lawyers and teams of CPAs, and they find every loophole in our tax code to keep from paying taxes. So who's paid? Who is extended the brunt of the tax? The middle class. The middle class. We're paying a lot of taxes, and we're getting pinched. We're getting pinched right out, folks. You know, so you need to hire somebody that relates to you. I relate to you, because everything I'll do for you, that's gonna come back and work for me too. Because I have the same stresses as you: paying a mortgage, paying the electric, filling my gas tank up, paying the insurance. My gosh, when that payroll comes out bi-weekly, 70 people. Man, it's huge. It is huge. So when payroll taxes fluctuate up and never down, always up. Man, it's huge. But again, it's the price of doing business. So at this point, we've been able to fare well, but it's hard to run a business these days. Everything has went through the roof. It used to be you could get a truckload of vegetables from California to the East Coast for about $2,000. Now it's like 5 times that to get that same truck from California to Washington. Used to be you could get a cargo container from China to America for about $2,000. Now that same cargo container is about $30,000. That's what's happening. Man, the country's going to implode on itself. Do you think hiring one of my opposition, the one's worth $60 million, the other one's worth $80+ million, do you think they have the same stresses as you and I? Do you think they know what it is to buy a gallon of milk or a dozen of eggs, or to fill their gas tank up? And we filled it up yesterday, it cost $55. We fill it up today and it's $110. They have no clue, because they don't pump their own gas.
Right.
So, again, we have a lot to fix in this state. And I just scratched the surface here tonight. But we have to hire some good people to get in there and do it. Last but not least, many people probably don't know this, but in this state we rank 4th in human trafficking. Toledo ranks third in this country. Nobody's talking about this. Not our representatives, not our media, not our governor, not our attorney general, the top cop. Wouldn't you think he'd be talking about this? You would think so. You would think that we would be combating this in a manner that we want to be dead set last, not leading.
Yes.
Come on.
But we're leading.
Yes, we are.
And nobody's doing anything. I have a problem with that.
Yes.
Matter of fact, we have child trafficking going on through our child protection services.
That's right.
And there's some heinous things going on through our Ohio Jobs and Family Services. And I have people on the front line that feeds me all this information. We have a lot of work to do. We have to, first and foremost, it should be a priority to keep children safe.
Yes.
They shouldn't be pushed from family to family like a piece of meat. We have to make sure that they are afforded a good home where somebody actually cares about them and don't consider them a dollar sign.
Come on.
But again, that's not a popular thing for a politician to do. Well, guess what? I'm not a politician. I'm going to rip that curtain open on that nonsense. And who is one of DeWine's biggest donators?
Wexner.
Les Wexner.
Ooh.
And we all know Les Wexner is tied to Jeffrey Epstein. I still want to see the black book. I want to know who went to Pedophile Island.
Yeah, come on.
And I guarantee it, there's a lot of politicians and a lot of celebrities in that book. I tell you what, you hire me here in Ohio, there will be no Wexner name on any state-owned building.
Woo! Come on.
We have some behind-the-scenes investigations right now. One of being when Mike DeWine was Attorney General, there was 2 international adoption agencies that was located over here in Strongsville. One of them was operating illegally with no licensing. Mike DeWine sent in Ann O'Donnell, scooped that adoption agency up, and was personally helping it. They were never charged with any lawlessness. And there was some lawlessness, some child trafficking going on.
Yes.
So I think there's a whole story here. And we have people that is digging into all this right now. But folks, I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care if you're an elite person on the red carpet here in Ohio. We're going to expose the truth and the evilness here in Ohio. We also need to take care of not only our veterans, who there should be no veteran living in a cardboard box underneath any bridge. And we have that. It's shameful. I went to a meeting here the week. They are looking to close the VA in Chillicothe. There was a lot of veterans there. There was probably 100 plus that showed up at that meeting. Sherrod Brown was supposed to be there, but Sherrod Brown sent his lackeys. You know, why in the world we waste so much money in this great country that we're even thinking about shutting a VA hospital down with brand new multi-million-dollar expansion? Why? We're too worried about taking care of the illegals, of the border in Ukraine. We're too worried about everybody else and every other country but America. We need to focus. We need to the people who fought for us, who signed on the dotted line. My lieutenant governor candidate, Jeremiah Workman, right out of high school, he signed on the dotted line. He went into the Marines. He fought in Iraq. He actually went into Fallujah. He was a platoon leader. And clearing some houses, his platoon took fire. They lost a lot. He made it out alive. What he did over there. He came over in Washington. He knows to open them this great state, to make sure that in all sure that they are treated they work their whole off. They don't pay that one lease payment there on an annual basis. They get their property taken away from them. We need to make sure that our senior citizens are taken care of. We would like to make a sliding scale. So if you're on the bottom end, you've retired, you're a senior citizen, you're exempt from your property tax. Yeah. And it's a sliding scale. The more money you make, there might be a little bit of property tax you have to pay. But at the end of the day, we're taking care of the folks that they've been in their golden years. The property tax goes up here in this state, so they have to try to figure out, well, I'm on a budget, how am I going to pay for my property tax? How am I going to, because I'm going to lose my house. It shouldn't be that way, and we'll get that turned around.
Yeah, all right.
There might be something, an issue that you're concerned about. There might be an issue that you want to ask me. There might be rhetoric out there that, okay, you've heard something, whether it's on social media or on the news. I'm getting pretty smeared out right now, so I take that as a positive. We must be over the target. So don't be afraid to ask me anything. I will answer any question. I got big shoulders. So if there's something that's really bugging you, that's like, I want to support this guy, but I heard this. Please ask me. Let's just get it right out in the open right here tonight. Yeah. So any questions? Yes, sir.
Please tell us about your moment with Mike DeWine. We all read about it. We heard about it on Facebook, but tell us about it.
So, obviously, I went to the beef. Anybody here ever been to the Beef Expo? You know what the Beef Expo is? You know, the Beef Expo, what it is, it's an event that they put up every year down there in Columbus at the state fairgrounds. And basically what it is, it's like junior fair. You know, kids go down there, they take their cattle, they show cattle, they have a big auction down there, some pretty nice breeding stock and whatnot that they run through an auction. It's a great event for youngsters, and it's very positive. A lot of ag kids, a lot of good kids that have been taught good work ethic and good morals in life. I enjoy going down there. But anyways, you know, I'm walking around there. I'm shaking people's hands, telling and introducing. And I hear over the loudspeaker, the auctioneer comes on, and he says, we'd just like to pause for a moment, and I'd like to introduce our governor of this great state, Mike DeWine. So that's just like music to my ears. I'm like, well, thank you, God, for this present. So I run over there to the auction where they're having an auction in the corner of the building, and I walk around the bleachers, and there he is with his little grin on his face. And I walk right up to him, and I said, Mike, I said, and I don't call him governor because he has not earned that respect. I said, Mike, I said, how come you won't debate me? I said, there was supposed to be a debate, if anybody knows, the 29th of this month, down there in Wilberforce at Central State University, and Mike backed out. Not only Mike backed out, but Jim Renacci backed out too. And Representative Ron Hood, he didn't even return their phone call. So none of these people want to debate me for some reason. I don't understand it. But anyways, I asked him. I said, "Why don't you want to debate me?" I said, "You have questions." Or we have questions that we want answered. Why you manage this state the way you did the last 2.5 years? And he said, I don't need to debate. I said, people want to know why you picked winners and losers when it comes to business. Why you propped up big corporations and many mom and pop shops had to shut down, never to open again. People want to ask you these things and you are not accessible. He said, and I said, are you a coward? And he stepped, and if you watch the video, he stepped a few feet back, and then he came back in, and he grabbed me by the shoulder, and he said, Joe, I'm going to kick your you-know-what. And he didn't say you-know-what. Of course, he's looking up at me. I'm just trying to keep a straight face at this point. And when he said that, he has an entourage there, security, and when they heard him say that, and I pushed his arm off of my shoulder, they scooped him up and they pushed him right down the aisleway. And I turned around, and the state trooper was standing behind me. And the state trooper gave me a little wink, and he had a little smile on his face. I think he enjoyed that because the state troopers have no respect for DeWine. I understand he treats them very badly. But, again, I think that was a present from God. He put me in the right place at the right time. It made national news. And he needs called out for what he has done to this state the last 2 years. He needs somebody in his face saying, why did you do that? And he's not willing to answer. Is he willing to come here and get in front of you and answer questions and actually earn your vote? Heck no, he's not. Matter of fact, he is not accessible. Do we want somebody like that that's not accessible? That is afraid to sit up here and answer the hard questions? Heck no. He is a coward. He's a coward. And we don't want anybody like that. We want somebody that will stand up, have a backbone, stand up against Washington, invoke our 10th Amendment rights and say, you know what, you keep your garbage legislation over there, you're not bringing it into the state of Ohio.
Yeah, come on.
I look every day and man, Governor DeSantis, that guy's a rock star. He is fighting for his people against Washington. He's fighting against big business. He's fighting against Disney. And Disney has not millions. They have multi-billions of dollars. And he doesn't care. He's going to stand up for what's right. I love that guy.
Come on.
I want to say how much we love you and appreciate you. Please stay the course. Thank you for supporting us. We're very grateful. We'll keep you in prayer.
Thank you.
Woo! Come on. Thank you, man.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
This kind of comes from the hearings in Congress right now for the Supreme Court justice nominee. So how would you answer answer the question, what is a woman?
Good question. So difficult.
Well, can I go back to just that whole cow and bull thing? I mean, honestly, when the president comes out and says, I'm going to hire not only a woman, but it's going to be a black woman, then that woman doesn't even know what a woman is.
Oh.
I'm not sure where we're going here with this. So there's that. Yes, ma'am.
Would you consider joining the Convention of States?
I've already signed off on that with Sue Kaler. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, well, I believe we need Convention of States. I believe that's the only way we're going to pull the reign of terror from our politicians. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
You know, I got something about for the veterans. In the state of Ohio, currently they only get a $50,000 tax break on their property tax. Like the other 15 states in the United States that offer zero tax for those people. We need to see about doing that here for Ohio. But let's add a little more incentive in there. Firemen, and plus your police officers that have been hurt in line of duty.
Yeah. Matter of fact, part of our plan is if you're 100% disabled veteran,
Come on.
we also have a plan for our first responders. If you live in that, we'd start out with a 15% discount on your property tax because we want to incentivize these people to, one, keep their jobs because we have a mass exodus of these folks right now. And man, if we lose all of our first responders, man, it is going to get bad. Yeah. So, yes, sir.
So there are a lot of polls floating around on Facebook. Do you have any real numbers that you can share with us?
So, yeah, there's a lot of polls out there. So the only you can take those with a grain of salt because you want. So let's just take that for what it is. The first independent poll that came out is from Trafalgar. Trafalgar had DeWine at over 30%. It had Renacy at 22%, and it had me at 20%. That was, I think, maybe 2 months ago, I believe. And then the second poll that came out was Emerson College poll. That poll, again, had DeWine at 30+%. It had me at 20%, and it had Jim Renacy at 9%. And then the third poll that came out was from Fox. Actually had DeWine at 50%. It had me at 21%, and it had Jim Renacy at 18%. So those are the only three independent polls that have been put forth. Now, here's what I want you to understand, because these polls, they have been taken from probable primary voters. This is where we're going to win, folks, because we are inspiring people to get involved that, one, has never voted in a primary election before.
That's right.
All over this state.
That's right.
We are inspiring people that have never voted before. We are inspiring people that they usually only vote in a presidential election year in a general election. So DeWine won the last primary with 499,000 votes. That's pretty nil. We have 1.9 million registered Republicans in this state. We have 8 million plus registered independents. So I believe we can win this easy. And I don't care if the all-state, the vote's going to be split and DeWine's going to win. I don't believe it. There's going to be a splitting of votes between. And what I mean by politics. They're members. They know all about politics. Candidates. They never vote grassroots. Last week, Cuyahoga County, they had their endorsement. The vetting committee put forth a recommendation to endorse DeWine. Well, it goes through their process, their Robert's Rule of Order, and they did a motion to change that name from DeWine to Renace. Renace won the Cuyahoga County endorsement. These are all. And they split that vote. I think that's what they're going to do come to. Not our people. And that's why I think we can win up. That's the big elephant in the room. We talk to everybody in your community because they might think, well, I'm going to go vote for Joe. Primary is. Yeah. So it's your job. You have to tell everybody in your circle that if we don't win the primary, folks, we're done. If wins the primary, DeWine will be the governor in this state for 4 more years. In this state under DeWine. I'm out. I'll be living in South Dakota. So, I want to stay here. Great state. It's worth fighting for. But we all have to fight. Every single one of us. We have to use our life and not talk about this race. You have to get out there and talk about this race. And it's coming fast. Not be. They might move the primary out. Who knows at this point? I don't know what. We have to pay attention because if it's not that primary date, because people don't pay attention again.
Yeah.
So it's going to take some work here. Any other questions? Let's.
So I just wondered, what is your opinion on the constitutional carry?
Are for law-abiding gun owners. The bad guys could care 2 cents what laws are in the books. They're going to do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. What is the difference between open carry and constitutional carry? What's the difference? What has changed here in Ohio? I tell you what has changed. So I could put a gun on my side like this today, and that's the way it's been. No permit, no training, no nothing. So with this law being passed, constitutional carry, now I can pull my vest over top of that gun. That's it. That's it. And I still don't have to have any training, and I don't have to get any permit. If a police officer walks up to your car, you don't have to tell him you have that gun unless he asks. If, or she, if they ask, you have to tell them that you have that gun, as you should. I have no problem with that. But really, there isn't really much change with the constitutional carry. I know a lot of people, a lot of people get stuck on, well, now they don't have to have any kind of training. I believe in training. I believe that if you're a responsible gun owner, you should know how to load that gun, clean that gun, tear that gun down, shoot that gun. I believe that's part of responsible firearm ownership. But at the end of the day, our Second Amendment rights does not say you have the right to bear arms, and it should not be infringed unless you don't get a permit or you don't get training. So Let's just stand up for the law of the land. Period. Unequivocally. That's my sentiment on that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Ohio, and there was a time and a place from Cleveland to Pittsburgh. It was the most industrialized complex in the world, and over time it eroded. Steel mills left, things like that, and eventually, when all the businesses left, I'm very impressed by your candor and your energy. And I believe you. But I need to ask the question: how would we entice the commerce to come back to the city? And not only that, it's a two-part question, because if we don't have the commerce, the children leave. After they graduate, they have nothing, and so they migrate on. And so we need presentation. We need enticements. So how would you go about doing that?
So obviously, we pushed a lot of businesses out of this state because of our policies. Matter of fact, we rank 45th in the country in business tax friendliness. The only businesses that are coming into this state are the ones we roll out the red carpet for. Whether it's the Intel, which, how many billions of dollars are you and I going to have to pay for that business to be in here? Because it's a lot. And then we open up, we roll out the red carpet for the Facebooks, the Googles, the Amazons. One thing that scares the heck out of me bringing businesses like that into Ohio, what does businesses like that bring? They bring liberals. That liberal mentality, liberal workers. Do we really want to bring a bunch of businesses that bring that type of people into Ohio? I'm thinking not. We need manufacturing. We need manufacturing back here. Growing up in Columbiana County, there used to be steel mills, there used to be auto manufacturing. That's all gone. And it's because of our policies. Well, not only our policies in this state, but free trade. I mean, it's pushed companies out of the country too. So it's not only a state issue, but it's a national issue. First off, we have to make this state more business friendly for companies to move into this state. If I was going to move my business into another state, I'm going to look for two things. Is it business tax friendly? And can I move my business into that state and they have sufficient people to staff my business with minimal skill sets? Talking to a manufacturing plant down in Barlow, Ohio, which is down in Washington County. I talked to a gentleman, he owns it, Mr. Yost, and had a nice conversation with him because I wanted to know where he was at, what he thought we needed, where the downfalls were. And he said, Joe, I could grow my business tenfold, but I can't get interns. He said, I tried to set up an internship program with a local tech school and the local OU. He said all they wanted to do was fight against each other for grants. He said, I never got the first intern out of their program. He said, the interns that I'm getting, I'm pulling over from West Virginia when I can get one or two. So he's not looking to build his business any bigger because he doesn't have people to fill the positions. I said, well, what are you looking for in an intern? He said, I'm looking for two things: communication skills and math skills. I said, okay, what do you mean by communication skills? He said, I need a young person to be able to look me in the eye and actually talk to me and communicate with me and not like this. I said, okay. I said, I can see how we fail our children when it comes to that. I said, in math skills, I'm thinking, okay, you got CNC machines, you do some pretty intricate machining. I said, what do you need? Algebra, trig, calculus, that type of skills or math? He said, no, Joe. He said, right out of high school for an internship program with me, he said, I need kids that can do adding, subtracting, and division. So, again, our high schools are failing our children. You know, I can't tell you how many children, 16 years old, I hire. They come in and they wash dishes or they expo food in my restaurant. They can't count change, and they cannot read an analog clock. I don't understand this. Again, these simple things, they should be taught in the local high school. That's right. And it's not happening. Matter of fact, ever since Common Core came down the pike, our education system has went to pot. You know, I'm just going to say, my second wife, Becky, she was farmer's daughter. We would have been married 10 years, but I lost her to melanoma skin cancer. She was an 8th grade science teacher, and she loved teaching. I mean, she just let her teach. And I can't tell you how many students, when they would see she and I out somewhere, would come up and they'd want to talk to her because she was one of those teachers. And when Common Core came down the pike and they tied her hands, she lost the love of teaching because she couldn't teach anymore. It was like, now I gotta teach this one thing, so they can pass that test at the end of the year. We're locking our teachers down. We're not letting them teach. We're not letting them inspire. And that's what we need to do in our schools. We want to inspire these young people. And with Common Core, that's kind of went on the wayside. So,
We're at bottom.
yes, sir.
Yeah, since we're in the 11th hour here, we've got a little more than a month. My concern is, as we're approaching this three-way race, it almost seems like we need some, with Trump endorsing different races and primaries in different states, but he hasn't said anything about Ohio. We all know he's not. I'm curious, do you have a strategy or because he's still being active? He has a rally this Saturday in Michigan. What can we do to get that endorsement?
You know, I have talked to Joe Flynn. Joe Flynn vets the endorsements for Trump. Honestly, right now, I don't think, unless something changes, I don't think he's going to endorse for the primary. I do believe he will come out for whoever wins the primary. But he obviously is not going to endorse DeWine. And he came out and said that Renacci is not a winner. He endorsed Renacci when he was running against Sherrod Brown for that Senate seat, and Renacci lost. So Trump is not going to put his name behind something. That's not the kind of person he is. And I think that I'm too much of a wild card. I am not a politician. And I think that kind of, it kind of scares him a little bit. But he is paying attention to what's happening here in Ohio. Matter of fact, Joe Flynn said the first, when they started actually paying attention to me is when that Trafalgar poll came out. So they know we're here. They know what we're they wanted, and that's where we're going to leave it. And if we're meant to get an endorsement, we will. And if we don't, that's not going to stop us at all. I'm out here working for you people. I'm not out here working for President Trump or anybody else. I hope and pray that if he's not going to endorse me, he just sets this one out because that's the best. So let Ohioans decide what we're going to do here. So, but besides that, we got a big ground game. We have a lot of great volunteers, and I just want to, let's give a hand of applause to these great volunteers that we have.
Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand. Give yourself a hand.
You know,
I know.
It's not because I have put this event together. You know, we have great volunteers that have stepped up to the plate all across this state, and they're the ones that do everything to let you know that we're having these events and sets them up, finds the accessible halls and whatnot. Without them, I couldn't be successful. And again, this isn't about Joe Blystone. So don't think that I'm out here trying to work for Joe Blystone or Joe Blystone's name. I'm out here fighting for you and I. And some people come up to me and they say, Joe, we love what you say. We want you to be our leader. Folks, I don't even like that word. I don't want to be your leader. I want to be your representative. And I'm here filling out an application because I want to go to work for you. That's all it is. Don't put me up on some kind of pedestal because I don't deserve it. I'm just a working stiff just like you. Period. I got manure on my boots. You know, I'm the guy that was working 7 days a week before I ever jumped into this race. So I'm just like you. I'm the neighbor right down the street that raises cattle and runs a business. That's all I am. I'm nothing special. So we got to get out there and use our voices. We got right now we're having a we call it Operation Wallpaper. So we're sending out signs everywhere, and folks are getting together and they're going out and putting signs all around their communities. So if you want to be part of that, please let us know before you leave. Let us get your name and address, your contact information, because it is, you know, this is the sprint to the finish here. So we're just